What's up, y'all? Happy Halloween. I hope you're having the spookiest day ever. As you can see, I have decorated the studio. I went to Spirit Halloween and I got some spooky stuff. I hope you'd like it because it was fucking expensive as shit. Um, but today I am happy and excited to announce that we have the first non binary person on HRT. I will hold for applause. Thank you. Their name is Toni. They've been a supporter of HRT for a long time now, and I'm really excited for them to get to tell their story and maybe share some insight on the non binary experience because God knows it is misunderstood. In other news, besties, now you are so missing out if you are not subscribed to the Patreon. I just dropped a whole extra exclusive Patreon only episode. It's like 2 hours long. I know a lot of you really enjoyed the last episode with Nate, so I sat him down. I forced him to sit down with me and watch and react to the new Jubilee trans conservatives versus liberal trans people with, the one with Blair White and Sasha Allen, that one. Y'all, if you thought we laughed hard the last episode, I don't think I've ever laughed so hard while being truly angry at the same time.
A lot of these doctors are also activists.
They also don't tell trans men that they're going to go through menopause.
Right. There's a lot of issues with trans men.
Wait,
Buck
what?
Angel talks about that.
He almost died.
Because I have the same reaction. I said, wait, what?
Cody, please tell me he's lying. I can't do that.
You're missing out if you're not subscribed. You'll get a whole new episode just for you. The link will be in the description below. And if you're broke and you don't want to do that, at least join the Discord because, bestie, it's free. And all I'm trying to do is bring our community together. Damn it. So just work with me. Make sure you follow me on all platforms, including Insta and TikTok at HRT Podcast. And I hope you guys have the best Halloween ever and you are in your spooky little era. Thank you so much. Let's go talk to Toni. Bye. I'm loving the shirt, by the way. It's giving Halloween.
Thank you. Halloween.
Hell yeah. I got this one too.
I didn't want to put anything on my wall, so
Yeah,
this is where we
took
are.
me forever to do. This whole chaotic mess I have behind me. But it's Halloween. Happy Halloween.
Not yet, but it's fine.
But the day this will be released, it'll be Halloween. So
Yeah.
we're pretending that it's Halloween right now. But let me start by asking you where you are from.
Oklahoma,
Sadly.
Wow.
Dang. What's it like in Oklahoma?
Not good. It's not good.
Yeah, I
it's
assume not.
It's just bad. Like, we're not really the South, but we're also not the Midwest. I don't know. Kind of in the middle, but just bad.
Yeah. Have you experienced anything yourself where anybody's been mean to you for being non-binary?
Well, yeah, for sure. But the state as a whole is just awful.
So Oklahoma, not
Yeah.
great. We got that covered.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to ask you if you told me that you're on hormones, but I wanted to know how long you've been on hormones, and since you're non-binary, what led you to want to be on hormones?
So I've been on T for almost 3 years, if you can believe that. I look like this, but that's fine. You got a whole beard going on over there, and I don't know. But I started on the gel instead of injections, so I think it was like a slow ramp up situation.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
So 3 years, you said, and started on the gel. And at what point did you switch to injections?
Yeah, I did. I was really nervous that I wasn't going to like what was happening. And I was like, well, I can always just stop. So I started at a really low dose of the gel. and then went up to a typical dose of the gel for like a year, and I still was like, hello, what is going on? So then I went to a high dose of the gel, and that actually just did the opposite. It sucked. It was bad. So
Really?
yeah. Apparently, if you have too much testosterone, your body will turn it back into estrogen. So
Right.
that was not good.
No, that kind of sucks.
Yeah. The gel that I had was weird. It was kind of like I don't know. I don't want to say a lotion because that sounds weird, but it was like not clear. It was white, and it goes on the inside of your arm every day.
The inside.
Yeah.
Now with the gel, is it like? Do they tell you where you have to put it? Or,
It says on the
do you
bottle.
choose?
So like usually when I see people's videos online, they're putting it on like the outside of their arm, but mine always said the inner arm. And I don't know,
That's
I
interesting.
figured I'd follow the directions it was on the bottle, but it's not what everybody else was doing. So I don't know.
wonder. Yeah, I wonder why different ones
I don't
say
know.
different things.
I don't know if it wasn't because it wasn't a gel or I don't know.
Right. Maybe. But at what point did you switch to injections again?
It was probably almost 2.5 years on gel, and I was like, this is nothing's happening. Nothing's going on. Like my voice just like halfway dropped, and then I was like halfway in between. And so I switched to injections, and it kind of, I don't know, dropped a little bit more. I don't know if that's normal or not.
Now, are you on sub-Q or intramuscular?
Sub-Q.
Okay.
So sorry. I know you have grudges or something.
I know you have grudges or something. No, you're fine. I accept you in your sub-Q life. I get it.
We'll get
whatever.
over it. It's fine.
Now, how do you feel about shot day?
It's okay. I kind of gaslight myself into like this. Nothing's happening today. What are you talking about? I'm not. It's fine. There's nothing going on. I'm just really good at gaslighting myself, I guess. Maybe that's
fair.
not good.
Now, when you're actually doing the injection, do you have like shot anxiety about it, or are you a trooper with it?
I can ignore what's happening until I'm literally holding it right next to my leg, and then I'm like, ugh, and then I just do it, and it's fine. But for literally half a second, I'm like,
yeah, I hate that second. This is the worst second of all of them.
yeah, like there's a needle on my skin, so it freaks me out.
Not fun at all. Do you have like a shot routine?
So my shot day is Friday, and I work like a half day, and I always go to the gym afterwards. So I come home from the gym and shower, and then get all my shot stuff set up.
That's fun.
And do it that way.
What do you do for a living, by the way?
I'm a lab tech, so kind of a scientist, baby scientist. I don't know, something.
That's so fun. Oh my god.
I test
First scientist on the pod.
STDs, so
Ooh.
that's great for them.
How old are you, by the way? I forgot to ask.
27.
27. Dang.
Yep, getting old.
So you have a shot routine. It's on Fridays, and you said your shot anxiety's not that bad until you're going to do it.
Yeah, I'm really good at tricking my brain into not thinking that it's happening until I'm like holding the needle to myself, and then I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah,
Everything's
it's just
fine.
that 1 second you have to like,
Yeah,
be like, what else am I gonna do? Gotta put it in, or otherwise.
Yeah, like we're already here, might as well do it. I don't know.
Yep.
Let's just get it over with.
Do you find that sometimes it's more painful than others, or no?
Yes, mostly on my left side. I haven't heard anybody talk about this, but I suck at doing my left side because I'm right-handed, and it hurts more. I don't know. Am I dumb or what?
Do you sit down when you do it?
Yeah.
Or you stand up? Yeah, I sit on my toilet when I do it, so like I try. I'm
I do
also
too.
really bad. I'm really, really bad at remembering what side I did the last time I took my shot. So
I
I'm just
remember
guessing.
because the left side traumatizes me because every time I'm like, I don't know how to hold this. I'm right-handed. I'm like reaching across. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know how I do it. I think no matter what, my right hand, no matter what leg I'm doing on, my right hand is always pushing the syringe down.
But you go from like the outside in, right? Even though you're on the other side, or do you go? Because you can't do the inside of your leg. That would.
You're right. No, that'd be terrifying. Oh, that'd be awful.
I don't like the thought of that. I don't like that at all. I bet you could, but like,
Yeah, I bet you could. Cause
why
it's
would
the same
you?
muscle. Ugh.
I
Oh,
used
that
to
is
do
not
it in
good.
my stomach when I first started because it's a lot less scary for some reason. I don't know if that's just my brain or not, but
I don't know if I would want to do it in my stomach. Maybe it's just because I've spent so long doing my legs, but like, I don't know. That kind of freaks me out, the stomach. I've never thought about that.
I have a decent amount of little squish, and since I do sub Q, just grab the squish, so it doesn't hurt as bad as the leg. But I kept getting bruises, and like I don't know why.
Do you with sub Q? Are you ever like sore? Is your like sometimes I gotta like
Yes.
sit down. I'm like, ow, what the fuck?
Yeah.
My shot day was like 3 days ago. Why does it hurt still?
Well, maybe not 3 days is a little extreme. I was thinking the night of, because I did mine yesterday after work, and like last night when I was laying in bed, I like rolled over on it and I was like, ugh.
Yeah, not fun. Not fun. But also congratulations for being the first non-binary person on the podcast. I wanted to say
Thank
that
you.
before. I'm very excited about this. I wanted to ask you, do you plan on getting like top surgery or any surgeries in the future?
I did have top surgery actually.
Nice. How was
This
that?
shirt would not fit so flatly if I did not.
Slade. How was that? Where did you go?
So I did have top surgery in, I wrote it down because I'm the worst with dates, December of 2021. And I went to Dr. Doolin in Texas.
Dr. Doolin. Sounds like Dr. Doolittle. I like that.
Not quite. Not quite.
You said you're wrong.
That's fine.
What was I gonna say? How was that experience? That was in like the heat of the pandemic, no?
Kind of. Texas didn't really do the pandemic, and neither did Oklahoma. So by 2021, they were like, "What pandemic? Like I don't know what you're talking about."
That's so true. Texas
Nobody
just didn't
could go.
do pandemic.
Yeah, they just like skipped it. They were like, "No thanks." I don't know.
That's so
But
true.
I couldn't have anybody go back with me, and that was really nerve-wracking. I don't know if you could have somebody go with you or not.
Yeah, I had my mom and my sister come with me, and they like waited in the waiting room.
Oh, okay. So my husband came, and he could go in the waiting room, but he couldn't like go back there with me.
That's unsettling, especially if you're like nervous and stuff.
Yeah.
Were you nervous?
Yes. I was so nervous. I did go somewhere that doesn't do drains though, so that was great because that was really making me scared. The whole drains thing. I don't like that.
Many of my guests have said that the drains were no fun. I think, who was it? Luke? That described them as being like snakes in your chest or like
worms or something. Is that what he said? I don't remember, but I was like, ugh.
Yeah,
gross.
no, I'm so glad I didn't get drains. But you got double incision?
Yes, I did.
Without drains. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And that overall experience was good. How was the recovery process for you?
It was good. I decided not to keep my nipples, and so the healing process was a little bit different because of that. I could shower the next day. I didn't because I felt like shit, but they're like, you could take a shower if you want. I was like, no thanks. That's what if it just like comes open? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Yeah, so I could go in
4 days without showering.
4 days.
It's gross, yeah.
Yeah. I think I probably did too, just because I was like, absolutely not. I'm just going to lay here. I don't know. I'm not going to do that. So I got to see my chest the next day. I literally went in and they took everything off because I didn't have the like little nipple cover things.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool. Now, I've actually never known. Is it a choice to keep the nipples versus not keeping the nipples?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah. Or at least with my surgeon it was. I don't know if some surgeons are like you have to or or they don't do that. I don't know. But I could choose, and it was a little bit cheaper, so
That's
deal.
cool. I didn't know
Slay.
that.
It's like, all right, fine.
I love that deal.
And I didn't want to worry about them falling off because that's scary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I know it doesn't
I've
really
seen-
happen that often, but like still.
I've seen people get their nipples taken off and then tattoo them on later on.
I have thought about that. Yeah, I've thought about it. I don't
It's
know
kinda
though.
cool.
I might do. I have. Well, it used to be an underboob tattoo, whatever you call that. Now that there's not boobs there. So I want to like continue that upwards, maybe,
Mhm.
and instead of doing like the nipple tattoos, just do like a whole chest piece.
Hell yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
badass. I think you should.
It would hurt
Fuck
so bad though.
Yeah, I think
I'm really
it
nervous about
hurts-
that.
It hurts the most where there's less fat, I think, with
Mhm.
tattoos, and that is a very like
Yeah, like
bony
right on your
area.
like sternum.
I've read
Yeah.
that that's the most painful place.
Ugh.
Not to talk you out of it or anything, but
Well, I'll probably still do it. I love
Mm.
tattoos. I don't have fun while it's happening, but
I get that.
yeah.
I've heard people say that they're not painful at all, or like they're just like a cat scratch, or like it's just
No.
like
Unless your
guys,
cat is
you know
the
it hurts.
devil, like,
It
it's
hurts.
bad. It sucks. I have
No,
like
they
this
don't.
little fish guy, and this
love that.
little on my elbow. That sucked. It
Slay.
hurt so bad.
Oh yeah, both of mine.
Mm.
I have one here, and then both my arms here.
Mhm.
The one here, the closer it got to like my wrist, the more I wanted to cry. I don't know
Yeah.
why, but going down the arm was terrible.
Yeah.
Awful.
And then I have like this guy goes like kind of almost in my armpit.
Oh my god. Oh,
And
I've heard the
that-
armpit hurts.
It hurt a lot.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that though.
Thank
yeah, I'm
you.
afraid to get that part of my arm done. But like,
I haven't done the
shoulder part.
inside of my arm because it's scary.
Yeah, it's a very sensitive area.
No thanks.
Dude, you'd think I remember going to get my first tattoo. I was like, I'll be fine. I have to inject myself every 2 weeks. Just give me like a piece of cake. It was not. I like almost fainted.
Like I did the opposite because I had all of these tattoos before I started, and I have piercings too, obviously. But I think it's because I trust them that they know what they're doing, and I don't trust myself. I'm like I'm doing my own shot. I'm like, they're an expert. They know what they're doing. I'm not. I'm just like sitting in my bathroom like a weirdo trying to stab myself.
like a weirdo.
Yeah.
I do get a sense every time I take my shot. I do get a sense of like, this is kind of weird of me.
Yeah.
This is kind
And
of
I'm
odd.
always like, is it weird if my husband just like walks in here and I'm like crouched
Oh.
on the toilet like a weirdo?
Hunched
know.
over.
He wouldn't, because he would walk in and pass out. He wouldn't, but like
Have you ever had somebody like in the room while you do your injection?
no, I showed him one time because for some reason I was really nervous that like I don't know, my hands would fall off the next day or something. I was like, what if I can't do it? Like, what if I wake up and I don't have hands anymore or something? And then you have to do my shot for me. So I was like
Right.
trying to show him how to do it. And he was like, well, I can't watch you do it. I was like, all right, well then I don't know what I'm teaching you for, because this is not going to work. If you can't watch, then what are we doing?
Gonna have to get somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah, he
Showing
can't.
somebody it's a very intimate thing. I've learned trying to show somebody how to inject hormones.
We've been married for a hot minute, so I don't.
Sure. I've had couple people. I've had a cis man who knew nothing about anything do my injection one time. It was in like the early stages of my medical transition, and he was just like, "Can I do it for you?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?"
A friend or like a stranger on the street? Because like
A friend.
I'm gonna
A
need some more
friend.
context, because if you're just letting strangers inject you, then I am judging you for sure.
No, I probably should have prefaced that it was my friend.
Yeah. Okay.
But-
okay. Fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I got a little sidetracked there. Wanted to ask, when did you come out as non-binary?
2020. So I was a COVID baby, COVID trans, like
COVID
everybody
baby.
else.
I love that.
I think
And
I like So I graduated college in 2019, and while I was in college, I worked full time at Starbucks, and I just didn't have time to think about, I don't know, my feelings. I guess I was just so busy that I was just distracted from
Yeah.
everything else. So then I graduated in 2019, started my new job, and then in 2020 that job shut down, and I was like, well, now I have literally nothing to do. So I guess I'm going to think about what's going on here.
Sit with my feelings for a bit.
Yeah. It's wild.
And is that the first time you questioned your
No.
gender at all? Or have you been
Not even close. Not even close. So I bought a binder online in high school and just like hid it underneath all of my stuff so that nobody would find it. And I was like, this is a totally normal cis girl thing to do. Like, totally fine.
That's so
Totally
funny.
fine.
Did you wear it to school at all? Or no?
Yeah, I did. And I wore it like all the time. And I was like, cis girl. Slay. Girl boss. Like, this is fine.
Oh, that's so funny.
I don't really understand. I didn't make the connection in my brain.
I don't either.
And I was watching all these like trans guys on YouTube like getting top surgery, and I was researching like top surgery surgeons. I was like, ally.
Ally.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
I'm
Did
such
you,
a good
like,
ally. I
think-
just want to be informed. So I just like, I'm here to support you guys. I'm really jealous that you get to do that, but like, great.
Did you think that like you just were a cis person who didn't like their chest? Like, is that?
Yeah.
Do you think that was your train of thought? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get
Which
that.
I know that happens. That's
Mhm.
not like the weirdest
Right.
thing to ever happen. But at the same time, I was like, oh.
Can I ask where you bought your binder from? Was it from like a trans company?
I think it was Underworks.
Mm.
I had
Which
a
is-
couple because
they're a trans
I
company,
had
right?
I think so. I don't know if it's like for cis men with, what is it, like gynecomastia?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if that's what it's for.
Maybe.
I did have a GC2B, I think, is the
So did I.
order
Those were
that
the
those
best.
letters and numbers go
Yeah.
in.
That order of letters and numbers, I will.
Why do they do that? Why don't they
in
make
my
it
head
like
forever.
Underworks makes
Yeah.
sense, but why would they? I don't know.
I don't know what it stands for. I have no idea, but it's like
I don't
engraved
know.
in my brain.
Yeah.
GC2B. Never forget you.
Mhm.
That's funny though that you just thought you were an ally. I love
Ally.
that. Now, from like what age would you say you kind of knew something was a little in your life?
Apparently, I mean, I don't remember this at all. I either have the worst memory or like, I don't know, repressed memories, maybe. I don't know. But my mom told me that whenever I was little, I was like having a little tea party with my bears, and I just like looked up at her and I was like, I want to be a boy. And she was like, well, you're not. And I was like, great, shove that down forever. Never mind, I
Great,
guess.
moving on, I guess.
Okay.
So you said you came out then in 2020?
2020.
Because you
Yeah.
started on was in 2021.
Yeah.
Now, what was that like when you came out? What's your coming out story?
We can start from the good and go bad if you want to go that way.
Sure, any way you
We'll
want to
start at the positive, I guess. So I told my husband first, and I was honestly so scared. He's like the nicest, chillest, most soft, sweet man ever. But I don't know why I thought he would be like, leave. I definitely
Get
thought
out.
he would be like, well, we're getting a divorce, so you can just go. And I was like, okay. That's what I was prepared for. But I don't know. I think I hyped myself up for the worst. So I was expecting him to say that, and he was like, okay, dope. And he was like, so how do pronouns work? And so we, he wasn't the most educated.
That's fine.
So I was like, ask me literally whatever, because I don't want you to leave me. I'll answer all your questions.
No, that's cool though. I mean, like, I think that people who don't understand trans people fail to
Mhm.
realize is that you don't necessarily have to be educated in order to be a good person. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like you can be like, okay, I don't understand it all, but like, good for you. You know, like it's not
Yeah.
that hard.
Or like, if you're gonna ask questions, just don't like be a dick about it,
Right. Yeah.
or respectful questions. So
Don't ask questions that you wouldn't ask somebody who's not trans. Like you don't go to a normal cis person and like, hey, what's in your pants? Like
yeah.
it's just common sense.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's cool that your husband didn't have really any problems with it.
Yeah,
Was he just like
it was great.
awesome, dope? What are your pronouns? Moving on.
I was like, I think I'm non-binary, so it would be great if you could like use they them pronouns for me, and then we'll just see how this goes. And he was like, okay, I can do that.
Wow.
So
Now, was he the type of person, do you think, that like was he ever surrounded by anything LGBTQ plus in his life?
no.
Wow.
No.
See, that's like impressive.
So we've been dating since high school. So and we live in a small town-ish in Oklahoma, and there's not, I mean, there was queer people at our school, but definitely no trans people. And the people that were gay were like, if you were friends with them, you knew about it, but kind of on the down low. So it's not like
Right.
there was a whole lot of, I don't know, queer people in our school.
Did you two ever talk about like trans people prior to you coming out?
Yes, because I watch all the trans content. I'm like, you want to watch this movie? There's like a trans woman in it. And he's like, oh, like, sure. Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, that's awesome. That's cool though. I think, every trans person, that's the most important part, I feel like, is telling your partner or getting your partner to be there for you. Because I mean, at least once you hit a certain age, like once you're around like 22, 23, where you're like maybe no longer living with your family and you're living with your partner, you're like, okay, I can maybe handle it if my family doesn't really get it, but I need this person to.
Because we had been married for 5 years, if I'm doing the math right. We'd been married for 5 years whenever I came out. I know we got married like straight out of the womb. It's, I don't know, immediately.
That's cool though.
So yeah, we had already been married for 5 years, and I was like, surprise. To be honest, if he was like picking up the clues, it wouldn't have been a surprise. I got like 5 binders in my drawer. I like shop in the men's section. So,
do you think like he had an inkling at all?
Maybe. I don't know. I think maybe he did, but he also does not pick up on details. So he's
Like
very cis man in the way that he's like, what are you talking about? No
I'd
details.
kill to live like that though.
That would be great.
Oh, that'd be bliss. How about your family though?
So not good. I texted, first of all, it was during the pandemic, and I was like, we were trying not to be around each other. Also, I was a little bit of a bitch, and I texted my parents because I was scared.
That doesn't mean you're a bitch though.
That's
how a
copy
lot of
pasted
people
and
have to go
sent the
about it.
same text to both of my parents.
I love that.
And it was a little bit of a hot mess. My mom, she said, basically, this doesn't make any sense to me, so tell me if it makes sense to you. I love and accept you, but you'll always be my daughter, and I'll never call you they, them, So I'm like, okay, what does that mean?
Okay.
That's not really what accept means, but like,
yeah, no, that's my mom said the exact same thing. I love and accept you, but you'll always be a girl to me. But like, she didn't even believe that. She didn't even know what she was saying because now she calls me him and Cody all the time. Like,
my mom believed it.
Yeah, that's not fun.
She's standing behind that, so
Still, after
Yeah.
how many years has it been? 3? 2?
Yeah, 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sucks. Do you guys like talk at all?
Yes, she thinks we're like besties. I I don't know. I'm so confused about it. I don't know. This will probably turn into a therapy session if we keep going on my mom, but
Hey, that's completely fine.
I
She
just
thinks
don't
we're
get it.
besties.
Well, she calls to tell me about all of her problems and all of the things going
Mm.
on in her life, and I'm just like listening and I'm like, okay, throw some she hers in there, and you know.
Now, how do you kind of cope with that? If you talk to her all the time.
Not well, I would say.
Not well, Cody. Not
I
well.
would say my therapist is pissed that I never take her advice. I don't know. I'm not very good at boundaries. And I've literally never corrected anybody. I just am like, okay, that's great. Cool.
Sits there and just dies in peace on the
Yeah.
inside.
Yeah.
No, I
And
get
then
that.
I'm like, don't even hear the rest of whatever you're saying because I'm like, great.
Mm-hmm. And you know, that's most trans people. Like, I don't know where we got the narrative of like
Yelling at
jumping
people
down
and
people's
correcting them.
throats. Yeah. I don't know where that came from. From what? Like the handful of people on like TikTok who like probably weren't actually trans, like who are just playing with the
Yeah.
thought of gender, like doing like those are the people who are actually doing it for like to be trendy, where like I don't know. Bottom line is that trans people are more afraid of you than you are of them.
Yeah. I'm terrified of everybody and everything all the time.
No,
That's
like,
just how I live.
Now, do you think you'll ever hit a point where you're not going to be able to deal with your mom like misgendering you all the time and stuff?
I do spend a lot less time with her than I used to. It's kind of hard because my whole family lives in the same town. Like anybody in my family is like 5 minutes away. So I don't know.
So you live close to them? You still live in the
Mhm.
same state as them?
Yeah, we
Gotcha.
all live in the same town. So
That's rough. That's rough.
yeah.
Do you think you're like a family-oriented person? I don't know.
I mean, kind of. Yes and no. I would like to be. If
Right,
you would
yeah.
just like be nice to me, then great. Like I would come over there. I have I have 4 adopted siblings at my mom's house, so that makes it difficult too because I want to, be there for them, and I don't
Right.
know.
How is the rest of your family with you being down here?
My dad was a little bit confused. You know the meme that's like you got the right spirit, but like he was like, "Well, I don't know what else to call you, but I'll do my best." And I was like, "Okay, like that's great."
Fair, I guess, yeah.
And his best friend actually has a trans son, and so they go to little meetings together at the Equality Center, and that's cute.
Wow.
My dad and his
That's
friend, they like it's a parent like support group thing for people with trans kids.
wow.
So
Honestly, didn't even realize that was like a thing. Didn't really realize
I mean,
that
I
those
don't
things
know if that's
existed.
everywhere or if it's just the Equality Center. I live next to Tulsa, and the Equality Center is great. If anybody out there lives in Oklahoma, they have some cool little groups and things.
That's dope. Now I love that because usually you would expect the mother of a trans person to be a tad more accepting than the father.
Yeah.
And I love that, like, your dad being cis man is like going to these
Yeah.
parent things. I love that. That's
He
great.
wanted to go to the Pride Parade with me, but he's in a band, and his band had a gig that night, so he couldn't go. But they like set up all of the booths and everything at noon, so he like went early and got some little pins and stuff, and like took a picture and sent it to me at the Pride Parade. So that was cute.
That's so wholesome. Are your parents still married? Or no,
No.
that checks out.
That would be interesting, huh?
That checks out.
That would be interesting. No, they're not. Thank God.
Wow. You said you had siblings?
I do. I have a brother.
How does he handle it?
I would say worse than my mom, which is
Worse? No.
I feel because usually you're like younger people, you're gonna be like,
Yeah.
you're gonna be with
Yeah.
it. You're gonna know what's going on. No, he doesn't. He doesn't know what's going on.
Damn. Are you close with him?
Not particularly, not really. I just see him at like family functions and things, but I'm not texting him and be like, hey, what's up? Like, want to hang out? Because no, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't want to hang out. He texted me. I think it was after I made my top surgery appointment, but before I had surgery, he texted me and said that he thought I was taking this trans thing a little too far and I was going to regret it. And I was like, oh, great.
That's like saying like you're taking this whole your identity thing a little too far.
Yeah. And I was like,
Like, excuse me?
don't know what to say to that, but that's cool.
God. What do you do in those situations? Like, how do you cope with that? You just like ignore it, or
Well, I don't know. He threw a lot of other things in there. So most of what I was responding to, and because he texted it to me. Oh, here comes a cat. And he had texted me saying like he has two and a half, we'll say, kids. She's pregnant right now, so 2.5.
got you.
And he texted me and said that if I wanted to talk about gender stuff with his kids, like, don't. And I was like, oh, okay.
God.
I'd never even, like, he's 3. You think I'm going to be like, hey, dude, did you know I used to have boobs and now I don't? Like, I'm not. We're just chilling. We're just hanging out with the kids. And so, I don't know.
Yeah.
He thinks I'm going to try and indoctrinate his kids or whatever.
That is such a hurtful thing to say. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
Because like those are your nieces and nephews. Like that's a horrific thing to say to somebody. I'm so sorry. Because like I don't know if my sister said that to me. Because I have a almost 2-year-old nephew who I love so much, and if she ever said that to me, I think my heart would break in two, and I would never stop crying. Like
yeah.
Fuck that.
It's hard because I do want to hang out with the kids. It's kind of the same thing like with my mom. I want to be there for the kids, and like I don't know, one of them could be gay. There's a lot of them, so I want them to know who to come to because it's obviously not any of them. So I just want them to feel comfortable, someday if they want to talk to me about that.
Watch one of them and like question their gender identity one day, and you'd be the perfect person to talk to.
That's what I'm saying. So
wouldn't you want that as a parent? Like someone in your life that could help your kid in like any situation? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I don't get
that. I would think so. I'm not a parent, but
that's messed up. And as if like that's what's on trans people's minds. Like I'm not interested in educating your kid on transness. I'm just like trying to live my own life. Like it's not my kid. Like why would I? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. So if you want the real tea about when it came out, you're like, yes, let me grab my drink real quick.
Yes.
The most dramatic part was a whole church situation. So I didn't really go to church, but my husband did. And we got married in the church that he used to go to, and he was in the band and I don't know, did all that stuff. He plays drums. And so I had come out to like everybody close to me individually, like friends and everything, had told them. And then I made like a Facebook post where I was like, if you want to be dumb, please unfriend me.
Period.
Basically is what I said. And so I was friends with the pastor's wife on Facebook. So I'm assuming that she saw that, and I'm assuming that she told him, because the next week he preached a sermon about me at church. So that was
Were
great.
you there?
No, thank God. Could you imagine? I think I would literally just like
like become
fall
a turtle
apart
and hide. Like that would be traumatizing. Either way, it's traumatizing. Like,
Yeah, but my husband and my friends were there, and yeah, that was awful. Cuz who else could he be talking about? I guess I don't know. I wasn't there, but apparently he was like preaching a sermon about right and wrong and like sin and whatever. And he he was like, "Did you know there are people out there who don't even know what gender they are?" And it was literally like a week after I came out. So who else are you talking about, bro? At me next time. Yeah.
because it's the lack of education for me. Like,
Yeah. And what do you
because
think was
correct
going to
me-
happen? My husband would be like, come back next week and be like, hey guys, what's up? We're all friends here. No, that's not what
Deadass.
happened.
Oh, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing he said what, that you're a sinner, I guess, and you're confused.
Probably.
Is that
Yeah.
you need to be
Yeah.
saved? That's cute.
Confused. Yeah. Great.
That's cute.
I think I'm fine, actually. Thank you.
Now, okay, correct me if I'm wrong here. I'm not non-binary, so I'm not 100% sure, but like the part where he said that there's people out there that don't know what gender they are.
Yeah.
Now, to me, that seems wrong. I feel like it's not about not knowing what gender you are. It's knowing that you don't feel like you're either. Not that you don't know. Like, if anything, you're sure. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, I've been thinking about it for a while, actually.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, it's not about being confused. God.
Yeah. Not good. So
No,
my friends that went there and my husband left after that because my friends were part of the band too, and so was my husband. So they lost most of their band. They lost a lead singer, guitar player, and drummer in one day. So good luck with your music.
That's what you get. God. Fuck that. And now, were you at all like religious at all before this? Or no?
I would say I grew up really religious, and that's the reason that my mom is so, I don't know, the way that she is a whole religious thing. And so I grew up that way, but in high school I was like, I have questions.
Yeah, I'm questioning things.
I don't know what's going on.
And since then, have you gone back to any church at all?
No. I have trust issues.
Yeah, no, like that'll do it. Like,
yeah. I was like, you don't want me there. I don't want to be there. So it's fine.
For something that claims that they're so welcoming and loving and will welcome you in with open arms, like,
not
what
really.
The fuck? Like,
closed arms.
Like, dead ass. Like, you just made somebody feel like so unwelcomed and so outcasted. Like, and if that's your goal, good job, I guess. Like,
yeah.
I don't think God cares all that much, but go off.
And nobody from the church has like reached out to us since then. My husband had been going there for his mom used to be the youth pastor there, so he's been going for a really long time. And after we left, they're not like, hey guys, what are you up to? They don't care.
That's fucked up.
Yeah,
that ain't right. I'm sorry that you had to go through
the drama.
Yeah,
the drama.
Lots of it when it comes to the church, man. Jesus.
Yeah, for real.
Now I wanted to ask a little bit, and we could keep going back to your coming out story, if it relates to anything. But I wanted to ask, as a non-binary person, do you have gender dysphoria?
I do. I definitely, like, chest dysphoria was my worst. That was the worst. Because it's just like starting your day off on the wrong foot. Like, just go to get dressed and you're like, well, everything sucks and I hate this and I don't want to be here. So that was the worst. And it's a lot better since then.
Good.
I don't know. I do have hip dysphoria because my hips don't lie, and I wish that they would. I wish they did lie, but they don't.
I have never felt something so deep in my core before.
Like, I'm sure that some people would love to have the hips that I do, but I don't want them, and you can have them.
Yeah, me either. I don't want mine either. Not fun. You know, people. It is talked about a good amount, I guess, but I feel like for at least non-binary people and trans people or trans men, that's like a huge dysphoria-inducing thing. Is the
Yeah.
hips like
Yeah.
huge?
I gotta
Like,
wear pants every day. I mean, I guess I don't have to, but like I should.
and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's not much you can really do about it. Like, there's no
No,
surgery for that one. Like,
no.
it's just
I think you can do like a body contouring thing, like a liposuction thing.
Mm.
I don't
Hmm.
think that I want to do that because it seems like
It
the
sounds like a
recovery
lot.
process would suck.
Yeah.
At least
I'm
when you
still
have top
laughing about
surgery,
the
you
hips
can
so
just
loud.
like lay down.
True. Yeah. Hip dysphoria, not fun.
No.
Now, do you think gender dysphoria is in any way different for non-binary folks than it is for binary trans men and women?
I think the social dysphoria definitely is. I think the body dysphoria probably, I mean, it depends on the person because there's obviously all kinds of non-binary people, but
Mhm.
like me and you could have the same dysphoria, we just like interpret it differently.
Hmm. That's
You
a
know what I
cool way to
mean?
put it.
Like
Yeah.
if like maybe we have the same type of dysphoria, but in my brain that doesn't like equal a gender. Like it does. I don't feel like I have a gender.
Right.
So
Just because you have chest dysphoria doesn't
mhm.
mean you feel like a man,
Yeah,
I guess. That's cool.
definitely
I
not a
never thought about
man.
it that way. Yeah. That's cool. I guess I've never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Now, moving on a little bit to more about non-binary people in general compared to binary trans people. Um, non-binary people are like so misunderstood. Like,
Yeah.
we thought binary trans people were misunderstood. Like Jesus, like Jesus,
I
like
think it's because
so
people
misunderstood.
have a frame of reference for like I don't know if you're because people say like a girl that wants to be a boy or whatever and like that you know what I
Mhm.
mean they're like
Mhm.
that makes sense from like one to the other like you feel like the body that you were born into is wrong but like for non-binary people a lot of the times people don't medically transition. I did, but
Mhm.
that doesn't mean that you have to. I mean binary trans people don't either, but I think people just get confused about it.
I
It's
think
not as straightforward.
it's not as straightforward, and it's also just like not talked about enough. Like, it's talked about now more than ever, for sure.
In a
But
bad way.
exactly, yeah,
Not in a good way.
it's because it's still the more confusing one. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like how I think about it is like, okay, first, everyone had to understand and digest what being gay was, and then once they did that, moved on to trans women and like had to digest that, and then like, oh, trans men are a thing too. Okay, still
Yeah.
digesting both of those things. Oh, and now you're gonna throw non-binary on top of that. Like,
Yeah.
we don't even know how to do that yet.
And
Like, you know what I
I
mean?
think that's probably why it took me I mean, I guess I didn't come out super late in life, but like later than I
Right.
probably should have if I would have paid attention a little bit because all that I was seeing was like trans men and I was like, well that's not me. Super cool that you get to do that, but
Right.
that's not who I am.
Yeah.
So I just didn't know what I was doing.
Now, how do you feel? Because obviously, it's definitely frustrating that non-binary people are even more misunderstood than trans people as a whole. Um, but when trans people exclude non-binary folks from the transgender umbrella,
It's just like an extra jab, you know?
yeah,
It sucks.
yeah,
Like we have a lot to relate about probably if you ask or if you cared, you
hmm
know,
hmm
because they just think that if you're not doing it the same way that they are, then it doesn't matter and it's not the same.
mm. Did you happen to watch that new Jubilee video with
Yes.
Blair White and Sasha? You
Okay.
watched it?
Yes.
Oh my god.
I won't say that I watched the whole thing because there was so much eye rolling that I couldn't even hear what was happening because my eyes were rolling so hard. Blair.
I
God.
just watched that entire thing with Nate, who was on the last episode with me. We just did a whole reaction video to it on Patreon for anybody who wants to check that out. It's like 2 hours long. You're getting a whole new fucking video, whole new episode. So be sure to check that out. But to talk about it a little bit right now, oh my god, like
Yeah. And why did Jubilee put that one non-binary person in there to like fight for their lives? Come on, guys. Like, come on.
that is a solid point. There was only one non-binary person there.
Yeah. The
And, like,
moderator was not really moderating either.
no,
Is that a moderator? I don't think so.
You heard the moderator in the back be like, "Pause! Can you guys pause? Can you stop?"
When they're yelling at each other and they're like, "Whoa, whoa."
Absolutely ridiculous.
I think the camera guys are just like, look at this content. Like, we're just gonna.
Exactly. They only care about the content. They didn't give a shit about anybody's actual feelings there. But I said it a little bit with Nate the other night when we were watching. Because I was paying attention, knowing we were gonna record this episode and whatnot, and I was paying attention to what Blair was saying. And at one point, her whole spiel was about like how she was offended that non-binary people are a part of the transgender community. She was like, you can have your own thing, be in your own lane, whatever, but like I didn't struggle this much. I didn't go through all of this just for somebody to make fun of whatever or like make a joke out of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, girly, if your like experience, if your story as being a trans woman is that fucking fragile that you can't let anybody else be like a part of your community that doesn't specifically mirror what you went through, like that just goes to show like you're fragile, like, and you can't share, like, what the
and
fuck?
It's not like we're capped out on members of the trans community. Like, there can only be so many and then nobody else is allowed in. Like, what? I don't understand. Calm down.
Like, that's called gatekeeping transness. And it's so funny because I've gotten hate comments under, I think actually it's a video of Blair where I'm calling her transphobic on TikTok, and she's saying obviously something transphobic.
As she does.
And the comments are saying that I'm gatekeeping transness for calling her transphobic because she's trans. Like, I can't fucking win.
Okay, whoever decided to invite her was obviously just in it for clicks.
Yeah, 100%. But if anybody who's listening wants to hear more about that Jubilee video, go check it out on my Patreon. It's definitely worth the watch. But I have actually a question for you from somebody from, I have a few actually, but one fits into this next topic or next question that I'm going to ask you. Their question is, it's from Eli in the Discord. How do you find the community as a whole is towards non-binary people? I know there are roadblocks between all trans people and the rest of the LGBT plus people in general, but was curious if it's more difficult to feel that acceptance from the other trans and queer people. So I just kind of talked about that a little bit. But
fortunately, any other queer people that I have met have been amazing, super great, and they get it. I don't know if that's just a chronically online thing for trans people that are like gatekeeping. I haven't met any. In real life, I haven't. Everybody's been super great. So I don't know.
That's good. That is always a win.
Maybe they're not the most educated. Maybe they have some weird questions for me. But that's fine.
And I'll look, there's a lot of trans people out there that they're not necessarily against non-binary people. They're just not as educated. Like, even me. Like, I would say I'm more educated on binary trans people than I am on non-binary people, and I'll always be that way because I'm not non-binary. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. People, as I said before, it's okay to not understand and still be a good person, especially if you're trans, because you should know better. Now, I was going through some of the Discord messages in the one of the channels. I think it was the Pod Ideas channel. But you mentioned that society sometimes sees non-binary folks as not trans enough, but somehow also too trans to be cis. And
Yeah.
I remember reading that at the time, being like, "Damn, I want to talk about that on the podcast because that's a fat
Yeah.
fact."
I don't know why everything has to have a box. I know that it makes it easier for your brain to put things in categories, but it's just that's not really the way that life is. It's not about
Right.
categories. I don't know.
Do you think that? Not do you think that, but like, I guess you're right. That's the problem is that you're seeing gender as not you, obviously. I mean people in general. People are
How dare
seeing
you?
people are seeing gender as either really masculine or really feminine, and
Hmm.
there is no in between and there's no outside of that either. Like,
Yeah.
and it's funny because the word androgynous has been around fucking forever. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. Isn't it like haven't no, I don't know if this is right, but we were talking last episode about queer history with Nate, and I remember
Hmm.
since then I watched a TikTok. I forget who it was, but it was this girl, and she was talking about how non-binary people have been around a long time, and I can't remember if she said they've been around longer than like binary trans people, but like she was showing like tribal symbols and like pictures on rocks and stuff about how like in
Yeah.
ancient times non-binary people were a thing and they would go by like they
Hmm.
them and stuff, and it had like this
Well, it's like
whole thing
two
behind it.
spirit people that are like
Right.
Native American two spirit people.
Mm-hmm.
And I live in Oklahoma, and a huge portion of Oklahoma is Native American. And so we do actually have a pretty big like two spirit community,
Really?
bigger than I would say probably most states, just because of the amount of Native people that live here.
Hmm.
So there's quite a few two spirit people. And that was pretty much, she's coming out again.
Another
And
cat on
two
the pod.
spirit is basically that, from my understanding, I'm not two spirit, so, but from my understanding is like you have both the masculine and feminine spirits like within you, so you're like a two spirited person on like both sides sort of thing.
Mm, that's cool. I recently, not recently, but fairly newly, have just heard the term two spirit. So,
Mm-hmm. We always have like there's a two spirit float in the parade here. I don't know if that's normal or not, but there always is
hmm,
here, and there's a lot of two spirit flags and signs and everything around here.
that's interesting. I don't know if I've seen that at Pride, or maybe I just haven't realized, but that's cool. I'd like to learn more about that one day.
I
Soon.
would too. I don't know that much about it, honestly. I am Cherokee actually, so maybe I should maybe I should educate myself.
I do know we have a two spirit person in the Discord, and I think that's where I kind of learned more about it. But definitely interesting. Now I wanted to ask you, how do you think the process of realizing you're non-binary is different mentally than realizing you're like a binary trans person? Like, do you think you could put the process into words?
I
Yeah.
think it's kind of the same in that like you feel like obviously your gender assigned at birth is not doesn't feel comfy for you. So like that part of it and the dysphoria that I had personally anyway. Um but like I said, it took me longer to figure out because I was like, well, I'm not a man.
Mm.
Um so it's just like an extra step because it's more confusing for other people, and I feel like it's also more confusing like coming out to yourself
Mm-hmm.
at the same time.
Did you find that like really hard to do? Because like even coming out for me as like realizing I was actually a boy was hard enough. I can't imagine like not even like understanding myself what I was feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's why I took it so slow with like the medical stuff that I did decide to do. Like I started low on the testosterone because I was like, maybe I'm not gonna like it, so we'll just start low, and then I can stop if I want to. And that's basically like the approach that I took, was just take my time, figure it out, talk to my therapist.
So when you
Surrounded by a
realized,
fly.
yeah, when you
died.
realized that you were neither a girl or a boy, like, because many of my guests state that from a young age, and me too, like, we know that we're not the gender we were, you know what I mean? And
It's circling me.
is there anything in your childhood that made you feel like you were not, like, you know, I've shared many memories about like where I should have known I wanted to identify as a boy because like someone would call me sir in public and I'd be like, okay, that was really affirming. But did you have
Yeah.
anything in your childhood that you were like, okay, maybe I'm neither?
I definitely did not really care about gender like as a child. Maybe that's a normal child thing where you're just minding your own business and you don't really care. But my mom used to put me in dresses, and as soon as I could like dress myself or like voice what I wanted to do, I was like, no, this sucks. I don't want to do that anymore. And I would always be just like running around shirtless in the backyard with my brother playing outside for probably too old, I've been told. Like my neighbors moved in and they've told me this, that they were like, we saw you outside in the backyard with your shirt off and we thought that was super weird because you're like a girl. And I was like, oh, like I just didn't even, I don't know, I was just hanging out outside. I don't know.
First of all, free the nipple, okay? Like,
Yeah.
why does it
Like
even matter?
I mean, I was probably like 6 or 7, I don't know,
Mm.
when they moved in, but I just never really thought about it that way
Yeah.
until everybody told me that I should be thinking about it that way.
That'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have another question for you from the Discord from G. They go, so my question is, was it harder figuring out how they wanted to go about their transition? I know for me, I played around with the idea of being a trans guy, but something just didn't feel right. I never wanted to be perceived as a girl, so I changed my pronouns and started dressing more androgynous, but also wasn't a trans guy because I still don't want to be perceived as male, so I don't think I'll ever go on T. Hope this makes sense.
Yeah. And that's what I was scared of starting testosterone, because I don't know. I don't really want to look like cis man sort of thing.
I get that.
It is definitely hard because when people are like, well, what's your goal? Because even like my doctor would ask me when I started testosterone, like, what's your goal? And I was like, just to feel comfy in my skin would be cool. I just want to feel better about it. I don't know. Yeah.
Do you think you want to, like, because you said you don't want to pass as a cis male, and you obviously also don't want to pass as a cis female. So,
Yeah.
do you think that sweet spot for you is like I guess I'm asking in like if you're in a public place, like how ideally, like how would you want like somebody, like, because you're more transmasculine, right, as you said, and we're going to discuss more about the difference between gender identity and gender presentation, but do you think you are more comfortable in a public space with people maybe assuming that you're like a cis male or even a trans male?
Yeah, for sure. That's why I decided to do the injections instead, because I, even after being on the gel for like 2 years, everywhere I go is like miss, ma'am, lady, which I don't get it. I feel like if you look at me, you might at least be confused for a second. I don't. They just come straight out the gate with the ma'am, and I'm like, oh god, I'm not even that old or anything, but I just, it would be good if when people's first impression of me was either one, confusion, that's fine, you can be confused. That's great.
I was gonna ask, do you want people to like know you're non-binary? Do you want to give that non-binary esque like when you walk into a room? Do you think?
Yes and no. Like I feel like other queer people are going to pick up on it. They're going to see me and be like, that's a they them right there. If I've ever seen one, but like your average cis person in Oklahoma who might want to, I don't know, harm me or yell at me if they thought that I was a man. Cool, you can assume that, and then I'll be a little bit safer if you think that.
Interesting. Yeah. Now, Luke actually has a similar question, and you might have already answered, but he said, Luke said, mine is kind of similar to G's, but I was also wondering how were they able to differentiate. I can't read.
Differentiate.
Thank you. Them knowing they were non-binary versus questioning if they were a binary trans person.
I feel like when people do, very rarely, by the way, call me sir or something when I go somewhere, it still doesn't feel quite right. It's better than ma'am. Like, I'll take it. I've thought about, because people have like they, he, and their pronouns or whatever. If you're gonna pick one, I would hope that you pick he, or I don't know, masculine. I don't know.
No,
I don't think the general public is gonna see people and gender you as non-binary or just start using they them pronouns for you. At least where I live, that's not gonna happen.
Which is like, it's not hard to do. Like,
not really.
I go to Starbucks with my mom pretty often, and there's somebody who works at Starbucks. I'm not sure how they identify. I don't know. So I always will say they, because I am Gen Z. I'm also trans, so like I know what to do in that situation, and many of my cis friends would also know what to do in that situation. You just you say they when you don't know.
Yeah.
And my mother, not that she's transphobic or anything like that, but she has just wrapped her head around the whole binary trans thing. So she may not understand, what non-binary is, unless when you explain it to her, she's like, "Oh, okay, I get it." But like in that kind of social situation, she would assume, she wouldn't. Her mind doesn't go to, "Hey, I don't know right now. I should just say they," which like, I don't know. If you just become educated on it, it's also like sometimes I feel like it's more embarrassing for the cis person to get it wrong. Like, if you go up to somebody and you just misgendered them, aren't you embarrassed? Like, don't you feel weird? Like, just play it safe and say that.
It's funny because I actually used to work at Starbucks for a long time while I was in college, and I can tell you everybody that works there is queer. So I don't know. But one time I had this old man, I was taking his order, and I had this old man come up, and he probably just wanted a black coffee or something. I don't know. And he was like, "Thank you, sir. I mean, ma'am. I mean, I'm so sorry I don't have my glasses on." And I was like, "Oh, okay." He like didn't know what to do, so he just backed out and was like, "I can't see. I don't know. I don't know who you are." And I was like, "Great. Do you want sugar or what?" Like, there's 10 other people behind you. I don't have time for you to figure this out right now. You can call me whatever you want.
Blames it on his eyesight. That's really funny.
He like leans in, like squint, and I was like, I don't know.
You're like, I don't think squinting is gonna help you.
Which that was before I even like came out or transitioned or anything, and that used to happen to me all the time. Just because I have this short hair, that people were like, confused.
Jeez. Now, how would you? And some of my questions, for anybody listening, some of my questions might seem a little like obvious, like that. Maybe they seem like stupid questions, but my goal here is to just hoping that there's somebody out there listening to this that doesn't understand what non-binary means and whatnot. My goal is to just kind of have you or me educate, because I feel like people would get it if they just took the time to listen. So that's why my next question for you is, because non-binary people are so misunderstood, how would you go about explaining to a transphobic person what non-binary means and how it feels?
To a transphobic person, I think I might skip that. But to a person that's just like confused, maybe,
Yeah, that's how it
I
should
always think about it like, if this might sound a little woo woo witchcraft, I don't know. Um, but if you just like close your eyes and think about your like soul, like who you are on the inside without your body, when I think about who I am without my body, I don't have a gender. I just
be.
feel like I'm not connected to either one. So why would I do that? Why would I force it? It could just be me.
I like that. That was cool. I, you know, I don't think I understand what it's like to be non-binary in the slightest. But I think because there was a time in my transition, it was way before I started hormones. When I was freshly trans, I definitely was somebody who did not understand the they them pronouns. I didn't get it. I don't think I was ever transphobic towards it. I don't think I was ever an asshole, but I was uneducated and I did not understand it.
Well, I
And
did too. So it's just I didn't know.
yeah, which is like okay. And I think when it clicked for me, that's when I sat down with myself and I was like, okay, sometimes, like, I don't know, I guess I had this image in my head that I always had to feel masculine in order to identify as a man. Like, and I realized that, like, there's times where I don't. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Cis men are not always the most masculine.
Right. And,
So
like, I don't think a cis man, it always feels masculine either. Like, no matter if they're a little girly pop or not. Like, I realized that, like, even cis men aren't always thinking about their gender either, I guess. I don't know how to put it, but
I
like
don't, to be honest, I don't think that cis people think about their gender at
period.
all. I think they just
That
like
must be
take it as
nice.
it is, like straight out of the package, I guess. I don't know how that works. But I asked my husband one time, like, how do you have weird gender feelings? Like what are you doing? And he was like, no. Just never thought about it. I was like, what do you mean you never thought? I've been thinking about it since I don't know, I was 12 or something.
It's the only thing on my mind.
Yeah, that's all I'm thinking about all the time. I just don't think
Bliss.
they think about it.
No. And I mean, I thought that like I don't know. Like I have my moments where I feel very masculine. And like I'm like, yes, boy, 100%. And but like there's other times where like I don't there's never a time where I want to feel feminine or like a girl, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's moments where I feel like nothing. Like I don't feel a gender, and not so much to the point where I considered myself non-binary at any time, but I don't know. I think that's when I was like, okay, then if I feel like this, then a non-binary person, like, yes, I get that. I 100%.
Yeah. They
You know what I
probably
mean?
just feel like that all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how it is for me. I know that there's some non-binary people that feel like both genders at the same time, or like
Mm-hmm.
or a couple of different genders at the same time.
True.
But I just feel like I don't have one.
Now, how if you feel like both genders, and this is just me kind of thinking out loud here, um, if you feel like both genders, does that can that fall under gender fluid?
I think
Right?
that that's what a lot of gender fluid people, or gender fluid would be like going back and forth. Like one day they feel one way and one day
Right.
another.
Right.
Is it bi gender?
Mm,
Both? I don't know.
maybe.
I could be wrong. I know that I'm agender, but I don't know bigender.
Yeah. But many binary trans people are able to pass in public. And non-binary people, however, can almost never pass because a lot of non-binary people choose to not medically transition. And I think, you said you've struggled with passing in public too. Like, have you, I know you said that it's been a struggle for you, but have you ever been in a public situation where you're like, where you maybe wanted to pass as as a cis male for safety reasons or anything?
I usually lean the other direction. Like, for example, if I'm there's not a whole lot of places around here that have gender neutral bathrooms. I don't know why. Just get it together, Oklahoma. What are you doing? But if I have to pick a bathroom, I'm gonna go in like the girls' bathroom because 80% of the time when people see me, they she, her, me, or ma'am, or miss, or whatever. I think that that's mostly what I look like. So I'll go in the women's bathroom. I do like wait to see that everybody has come out of there, and then I like scamper in there. Or if somebody comes in, I'll like wait for them to leave because I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable. I just want to pee. Men's bathroom is probably gross, and I feel like I look less, I don't know, masculine.
I think honestly, you're better off because men's rooms are disgusting. I don't use them.
That's what I've heard. And if I did have to use the men's bathroom for something, I would probably have my husband come with me.
Yeah,
like a bodyguard situation.
yeah, like
the buddy system.
I'm always when it's an emergency and I have to pee in public, I'm like, all right, I've got to fucking do it. I stare at the door and like I'm like, okay, like 2 people just came out, now's my chance. And then I obviously don't use urinal, so I have to go in the stall. And then I'm just like, if anybody comes in right now, they're gonna think I'm taking a fat shit because
Which,
like
apparently the guys' bathroom, that's fine. They do that all the time. In the women's bathroom, people will wait for you to leave. In the men's bathroom, they don't.
Right. It's a fucking bathroom struggle for us, man. I hate it.
Yeah, it sucks.
Now we talked about a little bit about gender identity versus gender presentation. I was hoping maybe you could help maybe people who don't understand the difference, maybe explain a little bit the difference between the two.
So for me, even though I don't feel like I have a gender, like I said, I would be more comfortable if people were to perceive me as either neither or masculine-ish, like masculine of center, I guess is technically the best way to put it. So I usually dress in a way that will put me, I don't know, towards the masculine side of things.
Right. That's cool.
And for some, I don't know, I guess if I really was in a dangerous situation, then I would like, I don't know, women's. I don't know how to look like a woman. I guess I don't know how to do that anymore. I was gonna say maybe I could look like a woman, but I don't really know how to do that anymore. But I know that some people, like non-binary people that don't want to transition in one way or another, that they'll like go back into their like cis mode when they go out, so that they're not hate crimed or harassed.
I know trans men who do the same thing. Like I don't think it's the same, but I know Clara from my episode with him when he goes through like TSA or like in an airport or something, like he'll try to look a little bit more feminine just because it's a fucking scary world out there.
And if you're handing somebody your ID and that's what it says on it, which the whole X, do you guys have the X marker, gender marker?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just M or F for us.
Oh, well.
Do they do that in different states?
Some places do, and I don't know if I want to. It's kind of like a catch-22 because you're outing yourself if you put an X on it. So that could potentially put you in a dangerous, if you get pulled over, the cop, you have a X gender marker or something. But also it maybe would like make it less confusing if you come up to my window and I look like this and I have an F on my, I don't know, I sound like this and have an F on there. I don't know.
Do you think that like a police officer or something, if you get pulled over, like you think it would be more scary if they saw like the X on your ID and didn't understand what it meant and had a bunch of questions, or if they assumed you were a cis female?
I don't know, to be honest. I'm just gonna drive the speed limit and
no, dead ass. I'd be obeying the law.
But it'll probably not happen while I live here because the Oklahoma governor actually passed a law that he like banned X gender markers on anything
Jesus.
because he sucks.
Why? Like,
Yeah,
why? What the fuck
because
is the point?
there was one person that changed their birth certificate to an X because they live in another state and all of their other documents had X's on it, but they were born in Oklahoma. So they changed their birth certificate to an X, and our governor saw that and he was like, got to stop that right now. That is a threat. So he passed a law that nobody else can change their birth
That's
certificates,
ridiculous.
which is also a problem now for binary trans people in Oklahoma because some of the judges are like, well, it says right here that you can't change it. It's a whole thing.
That's like stupid because that's like nobody's even like being put in danger. Like that's like not even like
Yeah.
like
Why does it matter?
like the bathroom law. Like how do you even have an opinion on the ID? It's my ID and it's not harming anybody. Like
Yeah.
what? I don't get that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get it. So I have a question. How do you identify yourself? First of all, like
Like in my head?
would you? Yeah,
Or
like
like-
like if you were to say if someone were to say how do you identify? Like, do you say non-binary,
If it was-
transmasculine?
I usually just say non-binary if I'm just like trying to, because at this point, good or bad, most people have heard what non-binary is, so they have at least something of an understanding of it. Is probably like Demi Lovato, but fine. So I usually just tell people non-binary, but if it's like another queer person that's asking me, then I don't know, I go a little bit more into it, like trans mask,
Now, is because transmasculine falls under? Does that fall under gender identity or gender presentation? That's gender identity.
I mean, I guess it could be either, technically.
Now, can a cis person identify as transmasculine?
I think the trans part would be the...
Right. Or does
I don't know.
transmasculine usually fall under people who are non-binary?
I think it's usually non-binary or trans people. Because there are... I don't know. If we're going to do like a hierarchy of like the
Right.
the titles, I would put non-binary at the top, but some people might put trans above that and then non-binary, I don't know.
It, yeah. No, yeah, that makes sense.
Like the pronoun hierarchy, but like identity hierarchy, I don't know.
Right. So I guess this falls back to like when we were talking about Blair a little bit. She, like somebody like her, was mad that non-binary falls under the transgender umbrella, and there's a lot of transphobic people out there who feel that way. Now, I don't know. I kind of just got to thinking, and I was like, is there any non-binary people out there who aren't exactly happy with non-binary falling under the transgender umbrella? Because sometimes I don't know. I guess maybe if I was non-binary, maybe I would feel a little like hidden, I guess, because transgender, not binary trans people get talked about way more than in a good way than non-binary people. And I feel like maybe if there was, if they were two separate things, maybe non-binary people wouldn't be so hidden. How do you feel about that?
Well, there are sometimes non-binary people don't identify as trans, like that doesn't fit for them sometimes. I don't know. I think it's more of just like a personal thing. Because when I first came out, I was like, okay, maybe I'm non-binary, but I'm not trans though, so it's fine.
It's fine.
And then I was like, trans literally means that you don't associate like with your gender assigned at birth. So that is literally the definition of how I feel. But I think if non-binary people do, like if they're gender fluid and they are, connect with their gender assigned at birth and other genders as well, then maybe they wouldn't feel trans.
Right. That makes sense. I mean, it's true. Like, I don't know where everybody got this narrative that trans means trans woman or trans man.
Yeah.
Like,
So I don't think it's a bad thing that it's an umbrella, because some people like the umbrella and some people don't. But
Right.
I've never had like a non-binary person be like gatekeepy about it to me.
Okay, cool. Now, my last little question here. I want to talk about a little bit about labeling your sexuality when it comes to being non-binary and maybe how that works. Like, do some labels make you uncomfortable, or how would you label your sexuality now that you're non-binary?
Well, I actually came out as bi in high school. Solve the problem for me, I guess.
Yeah, that works, I guess. But like, how do you think other non-binary people then go about it? Non-binary people who only have an interest in men,
Yeah.
or women.
I've seen non-binary people say that they're like in a lesbian relationship or they're in a gay relationship, or I think it's just a personal, like, how you feel about it, really. Not every non-binary person is going to say that they're bisexual or pansexual. That just happened to be the case for me. So, yeah.
Lucky you. Well, I think I don't, as a binary trans man, I don't even label my sexuality. I think labeling just makes everything too confusing, and it's just like we're all people. So,
which is also what question my husband got a lot whenever he would tell people that I'm non-binary or I'm trans or whatever, and then they're like, "Oh, so are you straight still, or like what?" And that, or even when I came out, people would ask me, "So what about him? Is he straight still?" I was like, "It's weird that we're talking about this, but spicy straight is what he says."
Spicy straight, I like that.
He's like, not really.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've had
straight-ish.
I've had girlfriends. I've had conversations with past girlfriends and whatever of like what their sexuality is now that they're with me, and I don't know. One of them were like, "I'm just straight. Like, you're a man and I'm straight," and I'd be like, "Okay, valid." And then somebody else maybe would be like, I guess that means I'm pansexual. Or like, I don't know, dating a trans person, like, doesn't mean you have to, I don't know, change anything about you or your sexuality. You can just say I'm dating a trans person. Or I'm dating a woman, I'm dating a man, I'm dating a they them person. Like, it's
I don't know why you have to have a specific word for it, which is I think how my husband feels about it. Because after I came out, he's like, it doesn't change, how I feel about you. So
slay. And that's how it should be.
Is what it is.
That's called real love.
I hope so.
Now, I remember having this conversation with somebody once that if somebody who's dating a trans person, because like at one point my ex-girlfriend would call herself bisexual just because it was the easy way, but say she didn't necessarily have a interest in women, but she called herself bisexual because she was with me. I remember having the conversation. We were just talking. She wasn't, trying to be transphobic or anything, but like, I was like, now, could that be considered transphobic because I am a man? Like, you're not bi. Like, I'm not a woman, so you're not bi. You know what I mean?
There is something weirdly icky about it.
Yeah.
Like, if your intentions are right, then, but it is kind of like weird. Like, if my husband were to just say, like, yeah, I'm straight, I'd be like, ugh.
Right.
You sure, bro? Because, like, you're still here.
Exactly. Like, you have to be a little, like,
I think he just realized how fluid everything is. It's not as rigid as you think it is.
Right. But it's also not like you don't have to call yourself bi either, though. I don't know. But I also wouldn't want to call myself queer for some reason. Like, I don't label myself. I could just say I'm queer, but I don't want to.
I have, just because it feels like a shortcut. Like,
it does feel like a shortcut.
Because I'm like all the things that are in the middle, right? So I'm like bi or pan, and I'm like I don't have a gender, so Just
Right.
kind of here.
Queer is just everything, right? Queer also is queer also gender too? Or is it just sexuality?
I would say so.
It is,
I think
right?
it depends. Yeah.
Huh. I'm learning a lot today. Now, all right. So, in the beginning, you said that you are a scientist, which I think is incredibly dope. And we were having a conversation
thanks.
about the biology behind gender and whatnot.
Yeah.
And you gave me a good idea of kind of doing like a biology crash course thing on gender. And I'm going to leave the floor to you because I know nothing about biology. I failed biology in high school. So
How did you pass if you failed biology? You had to have at least taken that one test or something.
a lot of tears and a lot of please
Beg for that passing grade or
that's pretty much how that went. But I'm gonna give the floor to you a little bit to explain gender to me in smart terms.
smart terms. Well, I'm not like a real scientist, okay? I do have a degree. I do have a bachelor's in cell and molecular biology, so I'm somewhat qualified.
Scientist.
Not an
Got
expert,
it.
but okay, great. Yeah, I'll take that. Scientist. But I always just think about, especially religious people, in my experience, Mom, if you're listening, are always saying that like God created man and woman and like that's it. So you can't, you're just born as that is what it is, and you can't change that. But like that's not true. Because there's so many intersex people out there. It's more than we would ever think. And I saw a study that was like 1.5 to 1.7% of people are intersex, which is the same amount of people that have red hair. If you think about that, it's a lot of people.
That's I have friends who have red hair, so like it's enough.
I'm married to one.
Yeah.
I know a lot of them.
Yeah, like that's a lot of people.
Yeah. So I think that there's more variation than we think. So if we just like, I have my little notes here, so if I'm looking over to the side, it's because I don't want to be dumb.
For sure.
So if you start like, not gender, because obviously sex and gender are different, but like biological sex is also not binary, the same way that gender is not binary. So if we zoom all the way in to your DNA, we'll start real small. I don't know if you learned about DNA if you failed.
I failed, but I did learn about it.
Like the spiral staircase situation with the letters on the steps, right? And so you have the letters that are on the steps of the spiral staircase, and like those sequence of letters make up your genes.
Got it.
So a genes is just the sequence of letters that are in your DNA.
Got it.
If that makes sense.
I think it makes sense.
Okay, great. So DNA is zoomed all the way in, zoom out a little bit, and then you have genes. And then if you zoom out a little bit more, then you have chromosomes, which are made up of all of your DNA and genes, right? So obviously the transphobes like to say that you're either XX or XY, and that's what it is, but that's not always true, because you can have just one X, you can have XXY, you can have, there's a lot of different things that could happen there.
And people who are intersex, they have one of each? Or
it depends, because there's a lot of different intersex, because you could have like the codes in your DNA that code for your genes could be a little bit different than what they typically would be, and then maybe your chromosomes line up with what should typically, but sometimes they don't. And so, do you have a question?
I was just gonna try and reiterate what you said to make it make sense to me, but so biological gender is also Is that
It's
can that
pretty
be considered
fluid.
like on a spectrum? Yeah. Then,
Yeah, for
okay.
sure. Because there's all of these different steps that there could be something different happening than that you would typically expect to happen. And so hormones, I don't know if you know technically that hormones are like little chemical messengers in your body that like deliver the messages to do
Ooh,
things.
I didn't know that.
They
That's
are
fun.
So hormones are like messengers, and so when they deliver a message somewhere, they have to bind to what they're bringing the message to. And if they don't bind correctly, either if the hormone is the wrong shape or the receptor is the wrong shape, then maybe they don't bind correctly. Or maybe your body's making too many hormones and then it's binding all over the place, and you know, have a lot more than you should.
So is that what happens when like cis people who don't identify as trans, like when, because there's cis people who need to be on hormones, right?
Yeah.
Like, is that
So like
a
if you have
reason why
low
they don't?
T, or if you, I think a lot of people figure out when they're trying to have children and then for some reason they realize that they can't, it's probably a hormone thing. And then it might be because your body's not making enough of it, or maybe it is and your body's just not picking up the messages.
That makes sense.
And there's a lot of other things that actually like because dopamine is also a hormone. So if you have less dopamine like I do in your brain,
relatable.
your body's not making enough of it, and that's also a hormone. And then
Can I get an
diabetes
injection for
too.
that?
Yeah, for real. Because insulin is a hormone too, so it's the same kind of thing. Like maybe your body's not picking it up, and so all of those different parts, your DNA, genes, chromosomes, hormones, are all working together. And if for some reason they're not working together, or they're overworking or underworking, then the outside of your body may not look the way that society thinks that you should. And that's how you have intersex people.
That's interesting. I don't think I ever realized or knew or thought about the fact that all of those things are also hormones, like dopamine.
There's just so many
and
different parts that you don't understand. So when transphobes are like, well, your XX or your XY, it's pretty simple. It's like, actually, it's not. Or like when they say basic biology, it's like, that's weird. I took advanced biology, and it's a spectrum, bro.
Oh, that's like an awesome thing to have in your back pocket with transphobic
It's honestly
people.
really helpful, because that a lot of the time that's what I get aimed at me as a non-binary person, is that like the biological sex thing. And I'm like, please fight biology with me. Let's do it. You didn't go to college, so let's talk about it. And I'll tell you about it.
That really is always their go-to, because it's always like, I remember, I don't even know where it was. Maybe my mom were in the doctor's office or something, and she brought it up. She was like, okay, but you'll always have X, was it?
Maybe you don't.
XX. Yeah, maybe I don't, Mom.
Have you ever had them tested? I have
No.
had mine tested. I don't know. Who knows?
Wow.
A lot of people don't get their genes tested. And so I think that when they're estimating the amount of people that are intersex, they're thinking about, that's not necessarily reported, because you might not know. Especially if you don't want to have kids, because that's when a lot of people figure out, or they find out in like during puberty when things don't happen the way that they expected them to.
Right. Wow.
So
that's really interesting. I wish I didn't fail biology.
Listen, in high school, I honestly didn't do good in biology. I told my teacher that I shouldn't be in his class. I was like, I'm not going to do science. I don't need to be in here. And he was like, just, you're fine. And here I am. That's what I do every single day.
Oh, that's awesome, though. Wow. Well, I appreciate you sharing all that with me.
Yeah.
And everybody who's listening.
Oh, and I do have a plug, because I'm not intersex. So if you want to learn more about intersex people, I really like Alicia Roth Weigel. She has done a lot of podcasts recently talking about her new book. So if you like to listen, those podcasts are really cool. And she's intersex and has a lot of interesting things to say about it. And I'm reading her book right now, and it's Inverse Cowgirl is her book. And I'm reading it right now, and it's pretty good.
Wow, that's
an
amazing title.
Sad. I would say to prepare yourself because intersex people are not treated great by the medical like community.
No, yeah, I could only imagine
Trans
that.
people aren't either, but
Yeah.
intersex people, it's immediately when they're born. So
Right. Jeez, I couldn't imagine.
That's
But yeah,
wild.
for sure, I'll plug both of those things in the description below for anyone who's interested. I'm definitely interested, honestly. So I will give both of those a look-see and a listen.
And the book is not super sciencey, so you're good. It's mostly like her experiences and stuff.
That's good for me because failed biology.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so I asked you what your trans song of the week was, and
I totally forgot about that.
I gave it a listen. Great song, and it's a song that is very straightforward, and like most of the songs that I've had people bring up during Trans Song of the Week have been more like the song's not necessarily about being trans, but to them it meant something. And this one is very straightforward. It's about being trans, but tell me what the name of the song is.
I didn't write it down.
Do you want me to say the name of the song?
That'd be great.
It's called Deadname by, is it Flash?
I think it's Flash. It's
Flash.
a non-binary artist, actually. Yeah, Flash.
Yeah, I saw that. I think it was really cool. I liked it a lot. When did you find that song? Recently?
I think I saw it on a TikTok, and I was like, "This is great." I don't have a dead name, but the rest of, the rest of the song, I like my music angry. I think I'm angry on the inside, so.
Me too.
I like my music to be angry and straightforward, so.
It was definitely giving alternative punk rock vibes, which I like.
Yeah, that's mostly what I listen to. So.
Word. I appreciate you sharing that, and that will also be in the description below for anyone who wants to give that a listen. And what are your socials so people could follow you?
Oh, you can follow me on Instagram at mix.proctor. It's mx.proctor on Instagram.
Awesome. And you can follow me at HRT Podcast on TikTok and Instagram. I post on there every single day. And Patreon. Guys, I just put out a 2-hour-long Patreon video about the Jubilee, Blair, Sasha debacle. And I know that everybody's very interested in that. And me and Nate from the last episode, we sat there for 2 hours laughing our asses off. And while also being furious, which is a weird, chaotic feeling. But I strongly suggest you go watch that. It's a whole new episode that it's just for Patreon only. So definitely go give that a listen and join the Discord because the Discord is free and you have no excuse. And that's about it. I post on here every Tuesday. And happy Halloween, everybody. It'll be Halloween when this drops. So I hope you have the spookiest day ever. And I hope you enjoy this episode. Toni, thank you so much for joining me today. This was great.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And congratulations on being the first non-binary person on HRT. Very excited about it. All right, everybody. See you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.